If you're in search of an affordable, functional, and very noticeable exhaust system when it comes to the sound for your 2022 or newer Toyota Tundra, excluding the hybrid models, this MBRP Armor Light single turn-down style exhaust system is one you'll want to check out. Now, this is great for the Tundra owner who's looking for a straightforward option to get a more dominant sound profile for their truck and doesn't necessarily care for the look of their exhaust, but they'd rather have some clearance instead. Now, this has MBRP's street profile as far as the sound is concerned, so when it comes to the volume, this is a pretty moderate option, as you just saw from the sound clip, having an aggressive tone without being super intrusive, getting a 3 out of 5 on the loudness meter, with 1 being stock and 5 being wake the neighbors loud. Now, the sound level makes it great for the day-to-day driver or one who doesn't want any annoyance on those longer rides, and the system as a whole is great for the Tundra owner who doesn't care about appearance and again wants the sound and the function at a very affordable price point. While this does get a volume increase over the stock system, it does keep it pretty mild, adding some aggression into the mix without being obnoxious or even intrusive inside the cab area. Now, you will hear it in the cab when you are under a heavy throttle, which is great if you do like to hear your exhaust from time to time, but when you're cruising on the highway or around town, this remains very comfortable in the cab with little to no drone, thanks to the integrated muffler and resonator. This also has its benefits in clearance, as I mentioned, thanks to the turn-down style configuration, and compared to others, this reaches all the way back to the back of the truck to maintain a mild sound level compared to other louder, shortened systems. Now, the higher clearance design with the elimination of the tip in the back makes for more room when departing off of obstacles and avoids any damage to the exhaust system, making your truck a bit more maneuverable in off-road situations if that's something that you're looking for out of an exhaust. This system is made of heavy-duty aluminized steel, being a great material to save you some money compared to higher-priced stainless options, and it's great for the drier climates that don't see too much road salt or excessive rust. The steel piping is also mandrel bent and 3 inches in size, allowing for smooth airflow and solid fitment for some better performance out of the Tundra. Now, the kit also comes with all of the factory located hangers for a straightforward installation and all the band clamps included, so there's no welding or other modification required in order to install this. Now, this is about $725, being a very affordable choice when it comes to a catback system. Now, comparing this to other choices, this does take more of a straightforward approach with the configuration and the materials being a turn-down style system that's not too flashy, and it has the aluminized steel construction that's durable and not too pricey. Now, what I think is unique about this turn-down option is that it's also a full-length system, so you're able to save a few bucks with the configuration and the construction without sacrificing the sound quality or the volume compared to other shorter systems that may be a little bit more intrusive with a louder volume level or more drone compared to this. Now, that makes this an all-around great choice if you want the best of both worlds between price and sound. Install here is a 2 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, and the entire process should only take about 2 hours or so in order to complete. Now, at this point, I'm going to hand it over to one of our installers here. They're going to show you a detailed breakdown on how you can bolt this up to your Tundra at home. So that's going to wrap it up for what I have to say. Let's go ahead and get into the install.
This install, you need a 3/8 impact, extension, 15mm socket, and 14mm swivel socket, cutoff wheel, safety glasses, die grinder, marker, tape measure, and also not shown to be a lift and pull jack. All right, today we're going to be installing the exhaust on our Tundra. First, we're going to watch a quick video how to uninstall a stock system, then we'll come back in here to do the new one.
All right, guys, for the first step of the uninstall, we're going to grab a 14mm socket, a swivel socket, and an extension, and we're going to remove these 2 nuts. Next, we'll grab a hanger removal tool. We're gonna remove this hanger out of the isolator. Now we can let this hang. We're gonna go up to our middle isolator and we're gonna remove that over there. Now I'm gonna have one hand holding on to the exhaust and the other to remove this isolator. Once that's popped out of place, let's slide our tube out of these studs. And we're gonna snake this out over the axle. And now we can snake our pipe over our axle. Just gonna snake it out. Now we can move on to the front part of the pipe. So now I have my 14mm socket, swivel socket, and extension, and we're gonna remove these two bolts out of the flange. Now we're gonna move over to the other side and do that same thing. Next, we'll be removing these two hangers. I have my pull jack to hold up the exhaust. So now I have my exhaust hanger removal. We're gonna remove these hangers. Now we have one more in the back, and then once that's done, our exhaust will be removed. Now using that same tool, we're going to remove our last hanger. Make sure you hold up the end of the exhaust. Now I'm going to lower down my pull jack. Move it out of the way. Now we can remove
All right, now before we get installing our exhaust, we do have to make a little bit of a modification. Now, since we do have a CrewMax with a 5.5 foot bed, we actually need to cut our extension pipe here down to 12.75 inches. Now, unfortunately, that does come in the middle of these hangers, so it's gonna be a little bit more difficult to cut. So we're gonna have to use a cutoff wheel, and we'll use a die grinder to clean up the edges. But first, we're gonna grab a tape measure and a marker, and just mark our cut point all the way around. All right, now we just connect the dots. So we have a nice straight line. Looks like my marker is dying, but it will do. All right, set that aside. I will grab a pair of safety glasses and get this cut. Take our die grinder with sand disc, just clean up the inside and outside edges. All right, so we're gonna start with our front flange pipes. Now our passenger side will be the longer and more curved one. As you see, I have a pull jack here to help hold things up. We get this lined up here. We're gonna reuse our factory spring bolts. Get this threaded in. Now we can just leave this loose for right now until we get our Y pipe on. So now we can go ahead and do the driver's side. All right, so now we're going to continue on with our driver's side, get this lined up, and get our bolts installed. The only difference is that our nuts have broken off the backside, so we just have nuts that we need to thread on. It's no big deal. You would just thread your spring bolt in though. Now we'll get our Y pipe in to help line everything up. As you can see, I have 2 of our 2.5-inch clamps on there. Just slide them on together at the same time. Make sure they're seated all the way. So now we'll go ahead and tighten our front flanges down so we have our impact, extension, and 14mm swivel socket. And same thing on the driver's side here. All right, next is our extension pipe that we cut down. I have one of our 3-inch clamps on there. Now I find it a little bit easier if you just pop the factory isolators off and slide them over our exhaust. Just makes it a little bit easier with this curve. And we're gonna slide it in our exhaust and on our hangers at the same time. If you need to, here's where you can use pull jack to help lift it up, make it a little bit easier. Now we have our muffler. Now I have one of our clamps already over it, and you'll see your drone tube here. You just want to make sure it's facing the inside of the truck. Seat that all the way down. All right, next we have our over the axle section. So we're gonna feed this up over. And now we may need to take these isolators off to help get this on, but we're gonna slide this into the back of our muffler. Pop this off and on, and same thing on our hanger over here. It's seated all the way. All right, lastly we just have our turn down pipe. So we're gonna get this on our hanger and in our over the axle pipe. So we're gonna get that in our isolator first. Put this together. All right, so now we're gonna start tightening everything down, starting from the front, working our way backwards. So we'll make sure that you get this Y pipe nice and level. Now all of our clamps are 15mm nuts, so we have our impact and 15mm socket. So we'll start by 2 at the Y pipe. And then we have our muffler. Now you can angle this how you want. I'm gonna angle it a little up so it clears the drive shaft a little bit more. We need 2 more clamps, one here at the back of the muffler. All right, then our last clamp at our turn down pipe. Now you might need to pivot this to get it in the position that you want. It's actually sitting pretty nice, so we'll tighten this down. And that wraps up our install of our MBRP Armor Light single exhaust system with the turn down for a 2022 and newer Tundra. And remember, for everything Tundra, keep it right here at extremeterrain.com.